Welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review, folks. I'm your host, Sarah Stephenson, and this is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Hi, guys.
So tonight we'll be reviewing that very classic and well-known Alfred Hitchcock production piece called The Birds.
Now, this was done, was it directly after Psycho?
Directly after Psycho.
Yeah, and I think Psycho was his springboard to go on to do some other movies. So, and this is not a bad movie.
Yeah,
so,
as you well know, in our first year when we did this podcast, we reviewed Psycho, and we also reviewed the biodrama about Hitchcock directing Psycho.
With Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins played a role, Actually, there was another one there where Toby, somebody else played the role. He wasn't too bad either, was he? In the other one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Anyway,
this is a really good one. It's just and it's what do you call it, Mike? When we were discussing?
Well, the genre is called a natural horror thriller. Now, natural, I think. Ecology-based, maybe, natural. Yeah, I think the terminology is a bit.
Yeah, I think that according to the book, this came from a book. So you guys know.
Yeah, loosely based on the book called The Birds by Daphne du Maurier.
Yeah,
it was a short story.
It was based off true events.
No, it wasn't.
Not the story. The birds. I mean the elements. It was inspirational from true events. We're dealing with an actual bird instance that deal with the birds really attacking citizens in real life. But unlike the birds, where it deals with different species coming together and start attacking the town, this one in real life was probably just one certain set of birds attacking.
Well, I was going to explain a bit. The book was loosely based. The movie is loosely based on the short story by Daphne du Maurier. However, when he was putting the screenplay together, they did take inspiration from a real problem in a town. And I got the details here somewhere or other. Where is it? I lost it. I've got so many notes here. Anyway, they had a real bird strike happening in a town. It had something to do with some toxic algae that the birds had been eating, and it sent them a bit crazy, like on drugs.
Oh, I see.
And so they started attacking people and smashing the walls and stuff and different things because they were out of their heads. So, so they used that for inspiration when they were writing the screenplay. So it took a bit of the book, a bit of that, whatever, and put it all together.
In The Birds, the movie, we don't know the of how they became crazy and weird and started attacking people.
Honestly, that he left it that way.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened? Did it start? And right at the end, which we'll talk about later on, it sort of left it hanging. Is it going to continue? A bit like Frogs.
Yeah.
Was there going to be an end to it? Would mankind actually take control back from the amphibians and reptiles and stuff, or were we going to be just put out of commission altogether? Yeah.
Although there was a sequel that went directly to television, which was crap. It brought back one of the original actors from Tippy.
Yeah.
Of course, she's playing a different character role for that one. Anyway, so
let's get into what we normally do. Produced by Alfred Hitchcock, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. I like these independent guys.
Well, he's the only one who is allowed creative freedom.
Right, but he had his money, so he's a stuffer. So he can do what he liked. So he didn't have anybody looking over his shoulder saying, "We don't want you to do this. Hurry up, do this." No, he did it. Had total creative control, which is great. Now, screenplay was written by Evan Hunter. And like I said, it was based on the story of The Birds by Daphne du Maurier. Blah, 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 blah. I won't go into it too much, but it focuses on the sudden unexplained violent bird strikes on the people in a place called Bodega Bay, California. Bodega Bay, I believe, doesn't exist, but there's a place called Bodega. And that was just changed to Bodega Bay for maybe whatever. It sounded a bit better, or I don't know. But it did get a lot of awards, special effects, different things. And
I'm curious about box office, whatever.
I'll get there in a minute. And it's been selected for preservation in the National Film Registry.
I see.
So it's really a good movie. Now, a budget about $3 million and box office about $11 million. Now, obviously, box office would have been obviously the initial run. Then it's been syndicated. It's been through all TVs around the world, and it's been re-released in cinemas later on, and it's gone home media and VHS and laser discs and DVDs, and now it's probably streaming. Yeah. So it's probably making a lot more money than $11 million.
And it probably did inspire frogs and those other nature disaster, related
Empire
movies.
of the Ants came around a few years later and everything.
Food of the Gods. Well, that's not really. That was written by another person.
Yeah, but they grabbed the idea and ran with it.
Yeah. After all, that was done. That was H.G. Wells' work, I think it was.
Yeah. And then what's that one of William Shatner where the town got taken over by the spiders?
I
got that in my collection.
I know that one. I know it's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember the name.
That's called spiders. No, but the whole town got covered up with these spider webs, and we knew the people were all going to get eaten by the spiders. Yeah, really good. See, a good ending. Yes. The spiders won. Yeah.
Yeah, but I gotta admit though, Mike, what you said is I like the fact that. Like this ending and Frogs, it left you wondering if the world is doomed or leave you...
are we going to survive?
Yeah. Unlike the Spider movie where it just pretty much spells out the word doom.
Lunch.
That too. But that it spelled doom for the citizens of that town.
So you look at movies like Arachnid and stuff, okay? We beat the spiders, okay? That sort of stuff. But this one here, birds... frogs, other things. Yes. Well, anyway, here we go. Actors. Now, I like this one. Rod Taylor plays the main male lead, Mitch Brenner. I like Rod. He's awesome. He's been in lots and lots of movies.
He was in The Time Machine.
He was, and a lot of other movies.
He's hot.
Okay, Jessica Tandy. She plays his mother. Rod Taylor plays Mitch Brenner. Jessica Tandy plays his mother, Lydia Brenner. Suzanne Plachette plays Annie Hayworth, Mitch's ex-love interest. Tippy Hedren comes in as Melanie Daniels, which is Mitch's new sort of love interest.
This is Tippy's debut, I think it is the word.
I think it was. Yeah.
Because she also starred in two other Hitchcock movies after this one.
Was it Marnie?
Money and another one.
Whatever. I've got it in front of me. Okay, Veronica Cartwright plays Kathy Brenner, Mitch's younger sister. A few years difference, wasn't it?
Yeah, like 13. A lot of years. A very long years of difference. Considering she was like 13 or 12, and he was
about 11 years old in this movie.
And he is
he's a businessman. He's a
lawyer. 30 or more.
So he's got to be about 15 or 20 years old then, or something. Yeah. Anyway, and Ethel Griffiths plays Mrs. Bundy, an ornithologist. It's a bird lady. She plays a very interesting part. I didn't mention anybody else here, but she's going, oh no, the birdies wouldn't do this because and she's proven wrong.
Yeah, once the birds start attacking the town, then all reason and theory have fallen out the window.
And she knew, I know everything about birds. I am a bird person. I'm an ornithologist. Blah blah blah.
Well,
and she's proven wrong.
Birds, after all, do attack sometimes. Here in Australia, we have magpies, and they do attack sometimes.
They swoop. That's only during breeding season. Yeah.
I'm actually afraid of sometimes being out and about when it comes to birds. I got kind of hit once time. I got a couple of bird strikes. I got a few bird strikes hit me, and these days I don't feel like walking down the same streets as I used to, because without fearing that a bird will hit my head.
Just change the subject just a minute. The real life inspiration when they were writing the screenplay, okay, it was partly inspired by a true event of a massive bird attack on the seaside town of Capitola in California.
That's it.
And that was, I suppose, in August 1961, and the residents there, and they were being attacked by birds. Now, hordes of birds, seabirds, were dive bombing homes, crashing into cars, and spewing half-digested anchovies onto their lawns. Ugh. Who's going to clean this crap up? And they found out later on they'd been eating some sort of toxic algae or something.
Yeah, you mentioned that with the...
but I wouldn't remember. I just found it. So stuff really nature does come around biting the ass sometimes. Where the toxic algae come from?
There's been a lot of cases with animals acting weird. It may have something to do with something that may be in the air or something on the ground.
Magic mushrooms.
Maybe something that they devoured or something like... I don't know. There's no explanation. I mean, there is explanations. People do find the stuff nowadays. Yeah. Instead of leave it up to God only knows.
Aha.
Anyway, so should I get down to the story? I want to ask you, what's the box office, whatever?
I've already done that.
What was the box office again?
Well, they made it for $3 million-ish and made about 11. And I said before that way back then, and since then it's been syndicated. It's gone for around the world on TV stations. It's been on release on VHS and DVD and Laserdisc, and it's probably streaming now.
I guess seeing as Tippi was a newbie, she was a model before she became a movie star. So they were putting a lot of money on the line for her acting career in this.
One of Hitchcock's blondes.
Yes, and obsessions.
Yeah, we won't go into that.
I read somewhere that he was obsessed with Tippi, and in one of the scenes, which comes much later on, he kind of deliberately had birds attacking her and hurting her. And in the scene, it was not fake blood, it was real blood.
Yeah, see, realism. He's really good. Master of suspense.
Anyway, I might as well get into it, guys.
It was very nice.
So the story takes place in Chicago, I think it was, or San Francisco?
San Francisco.
Yeah, San Francisco. And Tippi's character, her name is Melanie, is heading towards a pet shop, with the intention of getting a bird for her aunt.
I can't remember. I think she's waiting for delivery.
Yeah, that could speak, obviously, talk. And she meets Mitch, who is a lawyer or a judge.
Yeah, lawyer.
And he asks for some lovebirds to give to his sister for
her 11th birthday.
For her 11th birthday. And she tries to... He approached her thinking that she's a...
no, he didn't. No. He knew who she was.
He knew what she was.
He was doing a practical joke on her.
He did this as a practical joke to get her to...
well, she gets in trouble by getting involved in practical jokes and ending up in court, so he thought... I'll give her a taste for our medicine. I'm going to pretend I don't know who she is and see what happens. And he did.
Yeah, and she really rattled up because she didn't know the difference between a canary and
a vulture.
Anyway, he then realizes there was no lovebirds to be found in the shop, so he decides to go to someplace else. But then she gets his license plate and hopes to see him again.
She got a friend at the newspaper where her daddy owned, and they ran a number plate check, and she found out where he lived.
In Bodega Bay.
And she went up there. She bought some birdies to take her there. Yeah. And so she actually bought a taxi to say, I'm sorry, because she had a bit of a... Yeah. She sort of lied to him, say, I'm sorry I gave you a hard time at the pet shop and different things. And
she goes to his apartment, and the guy there, one of the other occupants says... or the people living there, say he's not there on weekends because he spends most of his weekends at his family's home in
Bodega Bay. Yeah.
So she decides to take a car and heads down to the small town. And she arrives there, and of course we go for a few things like trying to find the place and try to find the name of Mitch's sister. And we find it.
So and end up being Kathy.
Yeah. She also meets the teacher and asks her about her. And of course, some of the townspeople called her two men called her Alice.
Yeah, and they had no idea what the kid's name was. Yeah. Never asked
so much for small towns knowing your name. What can they do? Anyway, she takes a little boat and heads to the small little house as a bit of a surprise, according to her. She doesn't want to hopefully drive up there to their house, put the birds in their house, and then disappear very quickly.
It was going to leave a little note there. Oh, no, it did leave a note there, but she tore up the other notes.
Yeah, she planned on giving it the first note is going to Kathy, and the second note was going to be for Mitch. Sorry, as sort of, here's the lovebirds, he's bye-bye.
No, I think it's more really good. trying to make a bridge because I think she liked him a bit. She's inspired by him.
Yeah, she then she gets into the house. She puts the birds down, and then she makes her way back to her little boat. And Mitch notices her there, and he tries to take his own car and tries to meet her back in the town. Halfway when they get there, Melanie gets a bird hit on her head.
When she gets near the other side, he can actually see it. A seagull swoops down and scrapes the top of her head with its claws, talons, if you will.
Of course, they take her to a near building to cut
like a cafe or something.
Yeah, get rid of the blood and get some whatever to put on it.
A bit of peroxide, I think they used. Back in those days. Yeah.
She then he then offers her to come to dinner. Asks her to dinner with him and his family.
Didn't his mum come in the cafe about that time? And they said, "Oh, I'm going to invite a dinner, Mum." Right.
Yeah, she also
Mum's a bit of a cold fish.
Yeah, Melanie makes up another lie, saying that she's here to see her childhood friend, Annie, and Mitch sees through this as another lie.
Because he knew.
He knew. He probably knew Annie for a long time, and therefore doesn't know Melanie. Anyway, she then approaches her. She has a room for rent, I guess. I guess she lives in a boarding house or something, or...
No, she was renting her own place. But she was renting rooms out for anybody.
Yeah. So, and she doesn't mind that she hang out with Mitch because Mitch was her ex-boyfriend.
And there's nothing between them romantically anymore.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
And anyway, so she goes to dinner. They get along. Kathy and Melanie get along really well.
Really good.
Yeah. And she hopes for her to come to her birthday party, which is the following day. Of course, she thinks about this, and then, and Mitch encourages her to come, of course.
Yeah, lovely.
Anyway, so as they're outside, they notice some things happening with the birds, Anyway, they head back. Melanie heads back to Annie's house, and they talk about Mitch and his mum, and they talk about how Mitch's mother husband died, and
a few years ago,
she doesn't like Mitch associating with other women.
I think the thing is, it's not so much that she doesn't want Mitch to have a female. She doesn't want to be left alone.
Yeah,
because the man in her life is gone, and she feels vulnerable.
That she still has a daughter who's 13 or 12. I don't know. I don't know who's telling the story. And she's not going to be alone, technically. And as Melanie said...
She wants a strong man in her life. Her husband's dead.
As Melanie said before to her, you're not losing a son, you're gaining a daughter-in-law. That, I guess...
it wasn't good enough.
It wasn't good enough. Then we hear a clattering noise, and we see near the front door a dead bird.
Went clunk on the door and broke its neck.
And they begin to wonder what is going on. The next day is the party. The kids are having a wonderful time, and we see Mitch and Melanie on a hill talking about her past, and he brings up the fact that she, in the gossip columns, swam in an Italian fountain naked.
Yes, it says in Rome or somewhere, and she's supposedly charged for swimming naked in the fountain.
Indecent exposure.
But she said she was actually pushed into the fountain and she wasn't naked.
Yeah,
but that's how the tabloids actually made up.
Yeah, the tabloids are a rival newspaper that her father knows, obviously. Yeah, and they wrote this horrible story and to
smear her a little bit.
Smear her lifestyle a bit. Yeah. And, of course, Mitch doesn't believe her. He thinks this is another lie. Yeah, he thinks that she's a tissue of lies.
Exactly.
Anyway, before we get... she says to him... Believe what you want. I'm not going to bother.
I couldn't
give a bother about convincing you that I'm innocent.
Don't care. Over it. Yeah.
But just then, when the kids are playing Blind Man's Bluff or whatever.
It could be Blind Man's Bluff. Yeah. Where one of them's actually blindfolded, and the other kids are saying, Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Anyway,
finally to go around.
Suddenly the birds start attacking, and one of them knocks Kathy while she's being blindfolded.
Says, "Don't hit me," and she didn't know it was a bird hitting her because she had a blindfold on.
The birds start attacking the kids. They start attacking their backs, and the kids quickly dash inside the house, and all the time Mitch and Melanie try to help the poor little children as much as they could. Of course, once the birds eventually go away for a while, and we try to work out what's causing these birds to attack all that stuff. We then later on, I guess another incident took place where I should mention earlier that when they were feeding some chickens at their house, the chickens were not eating the chicken feed. Gosh knows why.
Like our cat, really fussy.
Yeah. We then find out when Lydia visits a local farmer who probably sold the chicken feed, and we find that he's dead and with his eyes gouged out.
Been pecked out by birds. Yeah.
And the sheriff arrives there much later on with Mitch, and they think that he was just attacked, and naturally the birds just naturally...
Oh, yummy, let's have the man's eyes.
Yeah, naturally they think that the birds just came in on a whim. But that does not make sense.
I dare you to go in a man's house.
Because most of these birds were striking the windows. They would not...
And broke the glass stuff, stuff.
Anyway, they just left it as a burglary and left it at that.
Yeah.
Then we get to... Yeah. Let me see. Oh, and Melanie goes off to pick up Kathy from school. And when she gets there... Lots and lots
not quite ready.
Yeah, the school isn't ready yet. And then lots and lots of black birds, crows, I think start landing on the jungle gym and on the fence.
Just behind us, and this is... Actually, I'll just stop here. This is where the filming gets really good because they did a lot of POV stuff. It looked over his shoulder, you can see the birds there, and then you saw her turn around, and you got POV shots of what she actually saw, so it brings the people into what the people are actually experiencing. Yeah. And you use that a lot during this movie. A lot of POV stuff.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she looks behind her, and we see like thousands of birds, and she quietly goes inside the school and tells the teacher that they cannot send the kids out to play because there's lots and lots of birds out there. And then Annie makes it up, tells the children they're going to practice their fire drill.
And say, I want to play.
Yeah. So she and the kids, they head off and try to run down the road, avoiding the birds as much as possible. Some of them quickly try to run back into their house.
And then the birds start attacking the children. Now, I was wondering, if they walked down the road slowly, would the birds have attacked them?
Good point. I don't know. Considering this is a fire drill, and I don't know what fire drills were like back in those days.
It's supposed to go in an orderly fashion.
Yes. Anyways.
Not panic.
Yeah. Of course, they eventually... Melanie and another girl and Kathy, they get into a car and without a key. I don't know why.
Well, no car keys there, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was just a car parked on the side of the road.
It's probably not belonged to her.
Didn't belong to anybody that they knew. Okay.
But eventually the birds stop or cease for a bit.
They had a break.
And Annie takes Kathy to her place while Melanie goes to a diner and explains the situation to her dad.
And no one believes her.
Of course, everyone thinks that no bird would start attacking kitties, and some of the locals think maybe the kids may have
teased the birds or something,
caused them, and even a fisherman says that the birds were attacking his fish boat.
Yeah.
Didn't say if it was
the fishing boat. His boat was being attacked by birds. So have had the kids' party was attacked.
Do you think that's where the algae came into it? Do you think?
Well, possibly. Well, it's a seaside resort, seaside town, and there would be algae out there, and maybe who knows where the toxic algae in reality came from, and this could have been a flow on from that idea, like the birds ate some funny food.
Anyway, a lady is there, the ornithologist. And she goes on about how
birds wouldn't do this.
Birds would not do this, and she says there's a difference between a black bird to a crow. And she goes on about how birds don't attack people.
And they won't flock together, be different breeds.
Different breeds. Seeing as we've so far seen gulls, canaries, sort of
canaries.
And so far we've seen
and the ravens. And the crows. Yeah,
they're sort of different species.
And they're all hanging out together and doing the same thing. All weird, yeah.
Yeah.
Funny.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. They all read the script. You know.
Some of the people start panicking. A lady in particular wants to leave, gets onto the highway and get out of there because she's fearing for her little children. So she begs a man who was at the bar to drive them.
No, this is funny. This took me. It's funny. I said it to you. She lived in the town. Her kids were probably born in the town. The kids went to the local little schoolhouse, whatever, yada, yada, yada. And she wanted to drive out of town to get away, and she didn't know the way to the main road.
Yeesh.
She asked the man if he's going, can I follow you out? Huh? You live there, you don't know your way around your own neighbourhood in your own town?
Yeah. An old geezer
we'll be doomed.
Says that it's the Judgment Day, apocalypse, whatever.
Yeah,
apocalypse you're always going to see some people like that in these movies, saying it's Judgment Day.
You're going to have your Ralph. Or somebody else.
You're all gonna die.
Who's the guy in Dead's Army? What?
That would be
the old guy, Scottish guy.
I know who you're talking about.
Something Laurie, something Laurie.
I don't know his name, his real name.
Yeah, Scottish guy. Oh, we'll be doomed. Yeah, he's always the
prophet.
Terrible
way to die.
Yes, he's a funny guy.
So anyway, back to the story.
Sorry,
the driver and they head to the car, and suddenly let me see what happens. The birds start swarming, and he gets knocked over, and he's petroling his car.
He was putting petrol in his petrol tank, and back in those days, they didn't have automatic cut-off, did they?
And the petrol starts dripping down the pavement, and it heads towards another car, and this other guy coming out of the car, he takes out a cigarette, and he's lighting it, and then he throws it,
match or
and the people in the diner yell for him to no, don't do that, but too late.
And he drops a match and he goes boom,
and then the just like clockwork, the flames head towards the other car, and quickly the family and the old man try to get out of there.
Exactly.
And of course, this causes more. The birds continue to swarm and cause more disruptions, and this is where we get to that famous scene with Melanie getting into a phone booth and
Laura did a good verse of that, didn't she?
Oh, yes, that was fun. and this is where we get a lot of birds swarming, and she tries to get out several times but doesn't succeed. But eventually, Mitch arrives and takes her back into the diner, and everyone is inside the sort of the back of the diner.
Oh, and you keep away from the window so that it's bird
and
the
same hysterical mother I mentioned
starts
blaming Melanie because she's a newbie and a new arrival.
Nothing happened until you got here.
And she starts acting hilarious. I mean, hysterical. And then Melanie just gives her a whack on the face.
I would.
Anyway, so Melanie and Mitch, they quickly get out of the diner and they make their way to Annie's house, and we eventually see her body lying there, and we worked out that she was the bird when the explosion happened and the birds started arriving. Both Annie and Kathy came out of the house, and when the birds start coming, Annie pushes Kathy inside the house for safety, but Annie got killed off screen.
Yeah, we think that was the birds attacked her and knocked her down the stairs and she knocked herself out, and they just pet the crap out of her.
Yeah. Anyway, Kathy's all right, and of course she's sad
a little
hysterical. I mean, there's a lot of hysteria going down, but that's what happens in movies. Anyway, they head back to their house. They border up the windows, the doors, and any loose cracks that might cause the birds to... Oh, I should mention, early in one of the bits of the movie, the birds kind of flew down the chimney.
And they got a lot of sparrows that do that. Actually, they got a lot of native ones and some from the pet shops do that scene.
Yeah, they had the sheriff arrived over, and they said that that maybe the birds were attracted by the light and stuff like that. And
at night time, birds go to sleep in a tree.
True.
Sun goes down, birds go to bed, they roost for the night, in the morning sun comes up, they get up and go feeding.
Yeah. It was like one of the birds came in there. I think he was just a scout, and I guess coaxed his other friends to come inside and just cause a
found a way in. Yeah,
yes.
Okay. Tweet.
Anyway, back to... So they're boarding up the windows, doors, and everything, making sure there's no chance of entry or exiting. So, what?
No, do not say anything.
Oh. What do you...
There's a fly.
Anyway.
Hey, that'd be a good one, dude. The fly.
Well, next time. Anyway, so they stay inside, and they are very, very quiet.
We're hunting wabbits. No?
So I guess to avoid, they have the fireplace all lit up to make sure, I guess in case the birds fly down the chimney, but then again, won't they cause the birds to notice that your house is occupied and give them a reason to fly down?
Well, if you have a big fire, they'll be crispy critters by the time they get down the bottom.
True. Yeah, anyway, the birds in the other room, I think the lovebirds, they don't make too much noise.
They're sitting around going, what's happening? Yeah. Well, they're really stupid birds, lovebirds.
They do make a little bit of noise in one scene. Anyway, most of the time throughout this scene, we don't see what they're doing when the other birds start attacking. We don't know if they're acting strange. Maybe they aren't. Anyway.
Oh, it could be. They could be singing on the road again.
Yeah. Well, anyway, the birds start, I guess, coming through one of the windows, and of course they're screeching madly. They screech really funny in this production. It's really madding how creepy their screeching is. It's enough to drive you nuts. Anyway, soon enough, Mitch was able to border up the close up the door using a bit of string and
rope. You know, the flex off your lamp, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We broke a flex cord off a lamp. Yeah.
He also notices one of the doors that the birds were stepped there using their beaks to
pick the wood apart.
And picking the wood apart. So he uses what do you call it? One of the sort of
the piece of furniture.
Piece of furniture and pins it against the
door.
Sort
of little cupboard type thing, a tall thing with a mirror on type thing.
Yeah.
You know the type.
He pins it against the door and nails it.
Yeah, so an extra line of defence.
Yeah. Anyway, so they're safe as we think they are, as much as we can. Then we get to an interesting bit where, as it's getting dark and everyone's asleep in the dining room, and then Melanie heads upstairs with a torch, and she heads to the attic, I think, or maybe not the attic. And there she sees
it's an attic bedroom. Yeah, it's in the roof.
And there she discovers that in the roof, there's a hole.
The birds picked a hole through the roof.
And there's like dozens of birds in there. And suddenly the birds start attacking her, swarming her.
And she pushes the door back behind her accidentally.
Yeah.
And she gets caught in there and she has to beat the birdies off.
Yeah, this is
this is a good bit.
Yeah, this is a scene I mentioned to you guys. Well, not really mentioned. In this scene, we're going to use robot or
mechanical birds, but at the last minute they said we're going to use real birds.
And this kind of, this is where I told you about how there's fake. This is real blood that comes into.
Yeah, so what you saw was a real. They were actually the stagehands and whatever.
Yeah,
the crew
stagehands or animal
crew,
control.
Animal hands. Whoever was there were grabbing the birds and throwing the birds at her, and she was trying to fend them off. And that was real. They were real birds.
They're really
real
clawing
blood
and really scratching.
And she was a little bit traumatised, wasn't she?
Yeah. After I don't know days. I guess a few weeks or months.
No, she came back the next day to work.
Yeah.
So he expected her to be a couple like I'll teach her for being for one. Well, we'll go on that later. He's trying to send her a message, not to stuff with him. Yeah. And she came to work the next day. I'm ready for the next day's film shoot.
Yeah. Anyway.
I believe. Yeah.
So, anyways, back to the story. She eventually, Mitch eventually arrives with his mum, and they eventually try to pry the door open a couple of times because her body is slumped against the door.
But anyway, they push the door open enough, they drag her through the door. And
and now she's completely, what's the word?
Traumatised.
Traumatised.
Then you get a 1,000-yard stare you get when you...
and her eyes, and her eyes are all
glazy.
Yeah, you can
1,000-yard stare.
Yeah, so she's kind of that side to Melanie has gone.
She was no longer a player or
she's like
fun-loving.
She's like the character from Night of the Living Dead, where you see her character is completely traumatized and cannot function. Yeah. So anyway, Mitch reasons that they must get to a hospital quickly.
He needs help, professional help.
Yeah, most definitely. Anyway, he heads to the back and he uses his...
Hey, wait a minute. There's a lull in the birds at the moment. They're just hanging around,
the birds are
having
just
a chat. You know? Yeah.
And one of the ravens, he actually nips Mitch's hand a couple of times when they're shooting.
In real life,
In real life, too.
Yeah, so we got that.
And I guess Alfred decided to use that for...
Why not?
So Mitch goes into the back. He uses actually Melanie's car.
Yeah, because it had a quick close. It's faster. Yeah,
and he used the radio to find out what the situation is.
And found that there's some local towns nearby also getting a few problems. A place called Santa Rosa, maybe?
Yeah.
And then there's talks about bringing the military in to do something.
Yeah. He pulls the car door open and he quickly gets the car out. Melanie, of course, is... she's looking around and she just want to go.
Outside, there's buddies out there.
Yeah. No. They quickly get her inside the car, and Kathy says to bring the lovebirds because she thinks they're not like.
They've been good birdies. Well, they've been something a freaking cage, haven't they? What can they do?
Yeah.
Honestly.
And of course they got their flaps down. I mean, they got the little piece of the fabric
the cloth
around,
over it. They
so
think it's Nino having a sleep.
Anyway, they he gets them and they take them into the car, and we watch Mitch and the others drive away into the horizon, and we
very slowly.
Yeah. Then we cut to black, ending the picture, and leaving you wondering what is going to happen.
Are the birds going to keep going? Is it going to finish? Is he going to wake up a brand new day and everything's normal again?
Yeah, because on the horizon there's a starburst. I mean, it's not starburst, sunburst, which usually is used to indicate another fresh day.
A fresh day, yeah.
And usually those things happens when things all cool down. It's a good day.
Not necessarily.
And anyway, this movie kind of leaves it as a cliffhanger.
So what's going to happen? And the best part is that you finish off in your head.
Yeah. Did the birds inside the car attack them? Would the birds strike again? Will the Earth be
inundated with bird strikes? Yeah. So you don't know. So
the questions keep mounting and mounting.
It's sort of like the Blob.
Yes.
Remember the Blob?
I remember.
Steve McQueen. I think at the end of it said, instead of having the end, it had a question mark. I think.
Yeah, it did.
I think that's the movie had the question mark. Like, is it the end?
Yeah, but unlike the Blob, in this one, it just cut to black, and we get the logo from the production company that Alfred was working on this project.
Yeah.
And we just cut to black, no music, no anything, no credits. Because there's no point in the credits because we already got the credits at the beginning.
Anyway, sounds good, hey? So there you go then.
I don't know if that was intentional that he wanted to end it like that.
Probably. Master of Suspense, remember?
I remember.
He knows how to make a movie. Of course, don't be stupid.
Anyway, it was an interesting ending. Quite different from his other movies where you either get an ending, like with the Rear Window one, there was an ending and everything was concluded.
Well, yeah, but the thing about Alfred Hitchcock's movies is he'd bring it up to a climax with a very, 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 very short ending, epilogue, whatever you want to call it. It's like, climax. You remember in Psycho? Norman Bates was in that little cell. He said he's feeling cold. Can I take a blanket? Yeah, he's okay. And you see the prison guard or whatever walk up around the corner, go through the room, and you hear a lady's voice.
Yes.
And then you come in there and you see this evil, demented person sitting there with a blanket around him going through a bit of a spiel, and all of a sudden it fades to black. You say, okay.
It fades to the car being dragged out of the swamp.
And then go to the black. But a quick finish. You say, okay, is he going to be fun at the nut house or not? Yeah, and that's it. So a quick finish. You see?
True.
And that, he was good at that, and he did that in his movies a lot.
Uh-huh.
He did it in his TV programs. Alfred Hitchcock, Mystery Magazine. Actually, I was going to talk about this. The guy who actually wrote the screenplay, this what's his name? Bugger Evan Hunter had written previously for Alfred Hitchcock's Mystery Magazine and the television anthology series Alfred Hitchcock Presents, which aren't too bad short stories. I like them.
Anyway, I did think the twist ending was pretty interesting. Left you wondering, will this continue, or are we just seeing the beginning?
Yeah, now here's something. You get back in the writing. When Alfred was talking to Evan about how to structure the script, he wanted to start it light-hearted, like a melodrama or a comedy almost.
Makes sense.
And that's why he had the bit in the bird pet shop. So funny and whatever, and a bit of what going on and clowning around and stuff, and a bit of sexual tension and all that. So that'd actually take it nice and light, and then gradually sink down into the horror. So build up suspense, which he was good at.
Well, that's how it usually works.
Yeah.
I mean, a little humor, and then we get into something serious.
And you say, if you start off lighter, the scary stuff at the bottom is scarier. If you start off scary, the stuff at the bottom isn't scary.
Yeah, true.
You see, you think, sense of security, full security at the beginning,
it
takes you right down roller coaster ride.
The best word to describe it is is like the flipping the coin.
No, flipping
No, that's how I see it. When you on one side of the coin, you have
smiling?
happy and smiling. When you flip the coin, it lands you on heads or tails, and that means you flip the story.
Yeah, whatever.
Instead of being a light-hearted drama, you got a horror thriller mystery on your hands.
You can turn anything, a horror into a comedy or a comedy into a horror. Anyway, just moving on to a few other things. When they actually wrote the original script, they got some friends to read through it.
That's good.
And they thought it was a little bit too long and some parts are boring, so they lost quite a few pages out of it.
I see.
And then, here we go, Hitchcock, Alfred, at later stages consulted with his friends, Hume Cronin, who was Jessica Tandy's husband, and he was playing the mother in this. So they had a look at the script and somebody else, and they both offered lengthy reflections on the work, and they helped tailor make the script. Mr. Hunter, Evan Hunter, didn't like that because he wrote it and he thought, oh, well, I wrote it. So, but they just made it better. So,
actually, original story, I looked at it, and it was mostly about a Vietnam Army soldier arriving back from wherever he came from. And it takes place in the same place here. And in the story, the bird strike starts happening around him, and he notices it has something to do with the waves in the ocean.
Okay,
and
whatever.
I don't know. I mean,
I'll take your word for it.
Anyway, but it has. You probably wrote about the algae.
No, well, in the real part it was, yeah. Now, a bird used in the film, they did actually spend about $200,000 on the creation of mechanical birds, which they used a couple of them. When the kids ran down the street, stuff, they had to have birds on the shoulders.
Yeah.
I think they used a couple of mechanical birds for that scene, not to hurt the kids. But all the other ones were real birds, I believe. Yeah. And some of the crows are actually ravens. So there must be... Ravens and crows might look similar, but they obviously must be a bit on the different.
I seem to remember when they were doing the one with the phone booth one, they actually used a special string to swing the gull into the...
that might have been mechanical. And the glass actually broke, actually cut up.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Yeah. I mean, I think that was another one of Hitch's tricks.
Now, here's something. The gulls, the seagulls, were caught in a San Francisco garbage dump. Well, they go there pecking the food, you see.
I heard.
Yeah. And the sparrows were caught by a guy called John Bud Cuttos. However, the captured sparrows had to be used alongside birds from a pet shop to achieve the full effect when they like that. So they had a mixture. So they like a lot of real birds thrown in there, and they used. I think in some filming they actually got the sparrows in a glass booth, put them in there circling around, and then they layered it to make it look like they're running around, flying around the room.
Yeah, it's interesting in this movie, whenever someone like a newcomer comes along, like Melanie or the guy from Frogs, you begin to wonder how come all this stuff starts happening when they just happen to come along. And they're mostly the camera's trained on the new individual most of the time, because he's a new face, and is either the hero of his own story or the villain of the piece. And sometimes it's a mixture. Sometimes he is could be the just cause of why we follow him around, trying to either figure out what his next move is, whether it's innocent or whether it's corrupted. In this case, she wasn't corrupted. She was just there on a whim, in hopes of seeing Mitch because she has a crush on him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not going to go through the special effects because I don't understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But there are a couple of things that stand out. All the crow attack scenes and everything were assembled by the film editor George Tomasini, and he did a really good job doing that, so I won't go into that too much. But special effects shots of the attacking birds were completed at Walt Disney Studios.
Wow.
And they use a thing called sodium vapor process, yellow screen, which they actually helped to develop it, and actually it helped the layering somehow or other, in superimposing things onto whatever, and so So they did lots of good groovy things to make it look good. MGM was involved. I think somebody else is involved, another studio. Where is it? A place called Film Effects Hollywood were commissioned to do some work on the attic scene, and Universal International Pictures, Matt Artist was involved. Lots of people were involved in making this what it is, a fine film. Now, whatever. There's a lot of crap about themes and stuff. You're not going to go on it because it's pretentious crap. Whatever. Oh, yeah, a bit of style. They did a lot of POV to try and give the people a sense of looking through the victim's eyes or the...
POV shot.
Yeah, a lot of POV shots in it. So, look, I'm seeing these crows, or I'm seeing these things happening. You look at the part in the beginning where she was in the boat.
Yeah.
On the lake there. Mm-hmm. She went out there, and then she was coming back a little bit, and she stopped the boat to watch what Mitch was doing.
Yeah, I remember.
Is it a long shot of him outside the house, which is her POV shot? That's what she was watching. Then a close up of her in the boat.
Yeah, it does make sense.
So a lot of POV stuff, which you don't normally do that a lot, and same as looking into the camera.
Yeah, well,
that fourth wall.
Well, a lot of people in filmmaking. One famous actor told me one time that to focus on the things that tell a story.
Yeah. And so a lot of people do the filming, and they sort of film with the person looking over the cameraman's shoulder, not at the screen, or they do it on a bit of an angle and stuff. And you don't get a lot of POV. Like you get the side of the person's face looking at something, But doing POVs and fourth wall stuff, it does work. Mm-hmm. If you're building up tension and trying to bring people into the movie.
Yeah, anyway, I do think that it was an awesome movie. I mean, it had tension, and it left you wondering what's the cause, even though even though we're giving you this information that we found from
that wasn't the real story. That just used it. There's no reason for it. It actually was too far. It went to the other towns and everything, so it couldn't have been the same problem. But the chickens would not have been out flying around eating toxic algae.
That's true. But they were acting funny.
The chickens were off their food. Mm-hmm. The chickens were not flying around eating the toxic algae that the seagulls might have been eating. The crows would not have been flying over the ocean eating the toxic algae. They would have been pecking on garbage dumps and whatever around
But the same I could say for the lovebirds. Why were they upset to the other neighbour birds?
Because they hadn't been talking to anybody. What? Okay. Now, reception. I'm not going to go through it. I've got lots and lots and lots and lots of stuff here. Okay? Generally, it had mixed reviews. But mostly, the reviews were good.
That's really
earlier reviews. When it first came out back in 1963. Because some people weren't used to this. They said they saw Psycho, and some people didn't like Psycho because Alfred was going into horror.
Yeah.
And this was still going into a little bit of a horror, and some of the critics didn't like where he was going.
Nope.
Even though it was a good movie. So those guys didn't do good reviews.
No.
Oh, I like musicals and comedies and stuff, so I'm not going to like this one. That sort of crap.
The same people who watch probably Jerry Lewis Martin's movies.
Now, coming into the now time, a lot of it's now everybody likes it. Rotten Tomatoes gives it the 93% rating. Metacritic gives it 90 out of 100. Film critic David Thompson refers it to one of as to Hitchcock's last unflawed film. Italian filmmaker Federico Fellini ranked the film among his top 10 favourite films all time list. Akira Kurosawa ranked the film number 55 in his top 100 films of all time. In 2000, The Guardian ranked the scene where the crows gather on the climbing frame at number 16 on their top list of 100 film moments. The scenes where the birds are attacking humans viciously were collectively ranked at number 96 on Bravo's 100 scariest movie moments. So everyone liked it in hindsight.
Yeah, the viewers liked it, but the audiences not so much.
No, the point is, back when it was released in 1963, the original reception was crap because the guys reviewing it didn't like it because it wasn't what they were used to watching. When Frankenstein first came out, it was this experiment in horror. A lot of people probably didn't like Frankenstein, nor did they like Dracula, and they didn't like Freaks because it was going a little bit too far. You see, same situation. He was going a little bit. He was pushing it just a little bit further, and some of the critics didn't like it just because he was testing the boundaries, as it were.
Yeah, testing the water.
I won't go on to the Tippi Hedren and Alfred Hitchcock bit. Of course, there's contradictions.
Really? How do you mean?
Even Tippi Hedren has contradicted herself.
Okay, go ahead. I'd like to hear this.
Okay, just a little bit. It was claimed that he was making sexual advances to Tippi during the making of this movie. And that's why he gave her a hard time. Okay? Point one. Later on, she was interviewed, and she mentioned, no, it wasn't through during this movie, it's the next movie, Marnie. She was making inappropriate advances towards her in the second movie, not the first movie. And so there's contradictions in here. And now even though people said, oh, he was not acting in a nice manner towards her, it doesn't actually mean he was hitting on her necessarily. Maybe fantasised on it, was a bit more demanding. I don't know. But I like to think that Alfred was a good guy who just had a bit of a fantasy and didn't take it any further. I like to think, but I don't know. Yeah,
it's hard to peek inside Alfred Hitchcock's mind.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I want to.
Now, here's something.
I like his style, I like his filming technique, but I don't want to know him as a person.
Yeah,
he may turn out to be a slime ball for all I know.
Here's a few things. Hedren's daughter, Tippi Hedren's daughter, Melanie Griffith, didn't know that, claimed that Hitchcock's abuse extended to her when he played a prank by giving the 6-year-old Melanie a wax figure of her mother in a miniature coffin. Now I'm starting to think he might have was sending a message saying, "I hate your guts." I don't know.
By the sounds of it, this doesn't sound like love. It sounds more like he hates her.
That was revenge because she rejected him. Maybe I don't know. He might have flirted with her a little too far, and I don't know.
Yeah. And the whole thing with the bird thing, he may have just. He hated the fact that
she rejected his flirtations.
Yeah, it may be that, or the fact she's a very stubborn actress to work with.
I don't know, but actually, having said that, Tippi Hedren,
or she may be a drama queen.
Sure. See, 1 minute. Tippi Hedren played Melanie Daniels, and she called her daughter Melanie.
Believe me.
Now, question. You would think, if she had bad memories of that movie, why would the hell would she name her daughter Melanie after the role she played in the movie where she was supposedly sexually, sexually abused or inappropriate sexual behaviour or flirtations by the producer-director? Wouldn't you want to distance yourself from the memory? So maybe there's a little bit going...
I did heard that she was contracted with Alfred's studio for a couple of
7 year contract.
And while she may have made 3 movies with him, she couldn't do any other movies outside of him.
Until he let her loose.
Yeah, until after the 7-year contract went...
Penalise you for being not very nice to me. A bit like...
Yeah, like George Lazenby. Think of George Lazenby. He was blackballed from the filming community.
Well, he got some good movies after playing James Bond, but he didn't want to be in Hollywood, and that's one of the reasons why he left the film industry as well. He made some movies after James Bond. He did.
I know.
And he did reasonably well, but he said, no, I don't want to. I had a choice in between being a star or being a used car salesman. So I want to be a used car salesman, so he went back home. That's it. He didn't want to be in the pressure cooker. He walked away from it. There was going to be a television sequel, Birds 2 Land's End, and that was pretty crappy. Daphne du Maurier, the lady who wrote the original short story, didn't like the movie.
Why? What's wrong with it?
Now, this is this is getting really pissy here.
Okay, you get to pissy.
As Hitchcock had changed the location from a farm in England to a sleepy beach community.
Well, what's wrong with that?
What the bloody difference would it make?
They're both beaches, and they're both areas...
No, one was a farm community.
Okay, both...
Her book was based in a farming community.
Yeah, okay.
On a beach, but not a beach,
okay? Okay.
And he put it on a beach community in Northern California.
What's the problem?
Well, I find it fine. I've got no problem with that.
Yeah, and not to mention...
And she probably got paid a licensing fee for using a space storyline and everything else. What's the problem?
Yeah, bird strike can happen anywhere. That's the message in this movie. I mean, we had a few here and there, but over the years, we also had our own set of different animals that did plague different areas too. Yeah. It does not mean it has to be one or the other or anything like that.
But
I mean, it's not gonna. It's an ongoing thing that happens in every single area in the world.
Well, I'm going to go to the Bible here. Moses and stuff, Egypt, plague of locusts, that sort of stuff, all the frogs, Well, nature's always been playing up,
Yeah, but again, as I said, it could be it may not be an act of God, it could be just an act of
well, we could have poisoned the water or something that went weird. That's a possibility.
Maybe that's what caused...
Water, there could have been a water source. That if there's toxic water in the water, maybe not bad enough for the humans, but something in the water which would affect the birds, and they're drinking a lot of water out of creeks and that sort of stuff, and maybe the chickens and stuff might have been having water out of a well or something.
Yeah. Bear in mind, guys, we're focusing mostly on Tippy's character throughout, so we weren't really focused on what was going on around us.
Well, the birdies.
Like was there anything that unknown individuals are pouring stuff like that?
But it wasn't supposed to be. It's supposed to be about her and Mitch and stuff, and how they survived.
How their lives got disrupted by birds.
Anyway, I'm going to grade it now.
Me too.
I love Hitchcock. Okay, and I think this is one of his better movies. I love Psycho. Psycho to me is probably his best work. North by Northwest is pretty good. I reckon this is up in the top 3.
Cool.
You got Rear Window and all the other ones.
Yeah,
but
Rear Window's
I think these 3, North by Northwest, Psycho, and this one, got to be top 3 movies. I'm going to give it. I'll give it 10. I've got no problem with this movie. I cannot find anything wrong with it.
I have.
The structure's good, the filming's good, the direction's good, the acting's good.
Yeah.
Blah
I
blah
don't
blah
see
blah
any
blah.
faults
It's really
in it
good.
either myself,
So
either.
10's good.
Yeah, I have no faults in it either. It's pretty intense. The atmosphere, the pace is pretty good.
Yeah, actually, he took it slow.
Yeah.
For a reason. to help build up the tension and suspense. Like, okay, a little bit slow there, a little bit slow there, and then you bring something in, like you jump scare or something happens or something, and gradually, another step down, another step down. You gradually took it and gradually leads you into the major bird strikes and everything. So it's really good.
Yes. So, and even though most of the time it seems to be closely focused close to home with Tippy's character, even though we do find out, like, in one of the scenes that a farmer gets attacked by said birds off screen, obviously.
Yeah, but still, he gets a nice close up his face sort of thing.
Yeah,
his eyes being pecked out. That was
gory. You would not get away with that kind of gore back then.
That's your jump scare.
I know.
She went to see the guy and blah, blah. Oh, I think he's inside, blah, blah. And she went inside. It's quiet. Goes in there, turns around the corner, sees somebody laying on the floor, sees a couple of legs, walks around the bed, sees a guy laying there, no eyes.
There's another thing about that scene. There was a lot of damaged cups that were hanging on the, cup thingy.
Yeah, but
when she goes down the hall, you see the paintings are still aligned in the wall. If the birds were striking and damaging everything around it, why wasn't the paintings ripped or damaged or
maybe the birds of Rock Creeks did want to hurt paintings. I don't know.
Anyway, I like to say my result for the movie, I like to grade this one. I think I like to make it 10 out of 10 myself.
Okay, now here we go. Availability, folks.
Here we go.
Firstly, watch out for VHS tapes. There's still some out there. Okay. So if you're going up, if you find one, a second hand, it may be a VHS tape. It might be a laser disc. Okay, be careful what you order. You might not want it. Now, here we go. eBay seems to have plenty for sale.
Right.
Amazon, it's rentable, and there's quite a few for sale there as well. So if it's there, you'll probably find another sources, other platforms or whatever. It might be on streaming services somewhere. You get a nice clean copy. You'll have a really good time watching the film. Now, as I said the other day, I mean, I'm reinforced this a couple of times at the moment. We do a lot of these old movies, primarily because young people may not have actually seen them. And they do get lost in the annals of time and different things. So we try to bring the old ones back in. And we do try to do new ones. We try to do Asian ones because Sarah does like the manga and anime type stuff. We're trying to do a broad thing to bring different media to the attention of people. Yeah. Now, we did we do the Poseidon Adventure about a month or two ago?
Yeah, we did.
And now we did that because the original movie was done way back in the 70s. Yeah. And the point is, a lot of young people may have seen the remake and other spin-offs and whatever, but they haven't seen the original, so we bring it in. And that's one of the reasons why we do old movies. We did Alien early in the piece when we first started doing it, for the main reason is some people haven't got into franchises. I had a friend who didn't get into franchise movies, so he only watched standalone movies, and when he started watching franchises, he realised how good they were. So that's why we're just bringing things to people's attention. So there you go then.
Yeah, so anyway, guys, that's about it for us tonight. So thanks for listening to our podcast, everyone.
I had a ball.
Be sure to check out the birds.
Actually.
And the book if you can find it. If it's
I'm going to suggest,
somewhere.
Have a look at the birds. Yeah. If you haven't seen Psycho, we reviewed that some months ago.
No, some years ago.
A year ago, whatever. Have a look at Psycho as well if you haven't looked at it yet. The original one, not the remake of Anne Heck-in-it, the original one.
Yeah, and not the Bates Motel
No, not TV series. No, the original one, 1960s, was it?
Yeah.
No, 1960s. The 1960s version of Psycho. And North by Northwest, was Cary Grant? No, Gregory Peck.
I don't know. I don't remember the date.
Whatever.
Or in Rear Window if you want to. If it's pretty.
And Rear Window, yeah. Good. There's some really, there's some really good movies they made.
Rear Window is the particular, apart from
James Stewart,
Psycho, which deals with dealing with a psychopath. That one would be good for keeping you wondering about stalkers and stuff like that, which is I often think some of these Hitchcock movies do encourage the sinister and slasher kind of storylines, and I think that years later they did make a sort of a Rear Window remake, but with different, probably the same name, using with a different storyline too, obviously.
Isn't it on the Secret Window?
No, Rear Window.
No.
There was a movie about a boy who was under house arrest. He was not allowed outside his house, so he had to use his telescope to spy on the neighbors next door. And then he starts suspecting his neighbor of being a sort of slasher killer, killing girls, inviting girls back to his place, probably have sex with them, and then killing them.
Okay.
And then
what a naughty man.
And then starts suspecting him, and other people don't believe him, obviously. And then he tries to uncover what he's up to, and of course he had to use most of his friends to assist him in this, and in the end he decides to risk it and tries to help his friends by trying to try to save them by attacking the killer.
Yeah.
And eventually the policemen arrive, and then they realize he was not insane after all.
Well, there you go then.
Yes.
Okay, let's kill it. That's going
all right, that's about
going
it
in
for us,
overtime
guys.
at the moment.
So be sure to check out the movie and let us know in the comments what you guys think.
It's really good, and like I said, Hitchcock, especially younger guys who haven't got into Hitchcock, okay, see if you can go online, look at Wikipedia or something, and get a list of his movies.
Right.
And the movies around this period, the Psycho, North by Northwest, Birds, have a look at what's around there and read up on them. You'd be surprised. He's got a lot of good movies, and they're worth a watch.
Okay, guys. So you heard us once. Be sure to check out any of Alfred Hitchcock's movies and the Alfred Hitchcock Hour TV series too.
You might be able to get the TV series
if you want to, guys. As I said before in the past, you don't have to listen to us and go ahead and watch it because you're being forced to.
No,
I want you to watch it and make your own decisions.
The TV series was a half-hourly shows, and they were nice, well structured. I'd say mini features because they had a good opening, good guts, and a good finish. So I'd call them more mini features.
Yeah, so that's about it for us guys tonight. So thanks for listening to this podcast, everyone. This is Sarah Stephenson
and Michael
saying see you guys around on Boys and Ghouls. Bye for now.
Bye.